All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to have another wonderful session. And this time it's going to be very interesting topic, guys. It's going to be 5 P's of successful agile transformation. So our speaker is Mr. Solomon. So as far as introduction is concerned, Solomon says he's going to introduce himself in his own way. But just to let you know that he's one of eminent, professional Scrum trainer in Africa. So over to you, Solomon.
Thank you a lot, Sanjeev. So my name is Sulaiman, and yeah, I am an agile coach first of all, and a professional Scrum trainer living in Africa, in Morocco currently. And here I am to talk about 5 P's I am, suggesting to consider if you want to have successful agile transformation projects. So
And
shall we
Solomon,
start?
just you let me know when you want me to share the morale with the audiences.
Yes, exactly. That's very good. You can share it, I think, in the chat so that they can follow me directly. So we
I'll
are
do that.
going to use, yeah, go ahead. We are going to use this mural link. So in the mural, you will see a couple of things I have prepared for you. So if you can join,
Sure.
all right. Let me know if you do.
All right, it's shared with the audience, so we can
Thank,
start, Solomon.
excellent. So you can join the mural because at the in the middle of the speech, I have some quick activity I have prepared for you so that you can, yeah, you can see. So as I told you, I'm Sulaiman Chongan. So I have been practicing Agile around 9 years now. My first experience with Agile, Scrum, and all the stuff was back in 2015. I have been in different industries and different companies. So in this talk, you will see that it will be mainly sharing about my, experience and about my point of view regarding Agile transformation. So here you can just double click here, put one sticky, add your name. It will be a kind of a picture for me so that I will know who is on this stage with me. Below we have a kind of parking lot, so to avoid interrupting the flow, maybe you can put your questions here, and we will have 5 minutes at the end of this talk to discuss the question, or we have the round table as well, so we can deep dive into some topics. And after, if you find some insights or aha moments, you can drop it here. It will be a good feedback for me as well. And here you have another feedback wall for me as well, so that you can share whether you think the ideas I have shared so far are good or not, and it will be an improvement plan for me. All right, so I suggest we start, guys. The first thing I'm going to ask is this. I have a good news and a bad news for you. I'm not your doctor. I'm not even in a Matrix film, but I would like to know which pill you would like to start with, the good one or the bad one. Maybe people are in the chat. It will be, not that interactive. But Sanji, if you can help them, choose choose one for all of us.
Sure.
Which one would you like we start with, the blue one or the red one? Can you hear me?
Guys can hear you. Yeah, I'm just guys. Can you just add your comments in chat section?
Or you can answer for them. It's not a problem. You can answer for them if you want.
Sure. Let me just see.
Yeah, I'm
What,
seeing at the same time. I have
we'll
seen
go with
one,
the blue one.
the blue one.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Oh, I have different ideas. A blue one here and the red one here. So let's start with the first one, the blue one. So the blue one, the good news is that I will try to do my best to talk about agile transformation in simpler ways, in simpler terms, without fulfilling the discussion or the speech with difficult word, or I can say even buzzwords, or something that make the comprehension and the understanding complicated. But the bad news is that maybe you are not going to learn, bunch of new things. Maybe all the things that I'm going to share in here, you already know it. But as I told in the beginning, it's my own thoughts, it's my own experience, it's the things I have, noticing and taking down through my experience. And I think and consider that we need to bear those in mind so that we can achieve successful transformation. So here it is. Let's move on. Another activity I have prepared until the same way, to have a bit of engagement and interaction with you. I'm about to ask you a couple of questions. So Sanjeev, I will need you again. I will need you to be here again. um what I'm going to ask
All right,
you.
I'm here only. I'm here only.
Exactly. No, that's not a problem. I will ask you to look around you, where you are, in your room, in your office, wherever you are. Try to look around you, and please try to do the game, all of you guys, even though I only have Sanjeev to interact with me. Try to look around you and see all the colors, or all the things that are around you that has a blue color. Try to notice everything around you that has a blue color. Please do your best to identify those.
Next to me is there is a bear riding a motorcycle.
No, great. No need to mention it. Just identify those. Perfect. And keep
All
it
right,
in your mind.
sure.
Great. The next step is I am going to ask you to close your eyes. Perfect. And don't open your eyes until I tell you to open it. So close your eyes. Great. So I will ask you to tell us what things in blue have you identified so far. Just cite them one by one without opening your eyes. Sanjeev, go ahead.
My T-shirt.
Mm-hmm. Keeping your eyes closed.
Oh, sorry.
Uh-huh.
The sky,
Mm-hmm. Everything else blue? One or two things, please.
painting of my bedroom,
Great.
the wall
Oh,
paintings actually.
excellent. I'm not going to make your life very difficult, so it's okay. But keep your eyes still closed. Now I'm going to ask you something else. Please try to identify without opening your eyes to tell me what is around you in your room or in your office, which is in, let's say, purple color.
You want me to tell you now?
Yeah, yeah. Tell me
Oh, okay.
something
It's,
that is
it's the wall in front of me, and,
what?
and and the wall in front of me, and
Oh,
the
I forgot that you are living here. You are in Xebia, so everything is in purple. Let's change the color. Tell me everything that is yellow.
everything in yellow.
Mm.
There is a board just behind me actually.
You have a very good mind, by the way. Go ahead,
Yeah,
continue.
there is a board. Yeah, just a couple of
Hmm.
steps away from me.
What else? What else?
I think that's it. I can imagine at this point of time, at least
Yeah,
within this room.
yeah. I think it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's just a kind of game I wanted to introduce with. What I wanted to highlight in here, you can open your eye. By the way, thank you for playing the game with me.
Sure.
Very good. You identified the first colors I mentioned you, because it was easier. You were focused on that. You were seeing that because you focused on that, identifying them one by one. But when I told you to remind or to consider things that you didn't have in your focus in your mind, it became a little more difficult. Even
Yes.
if you can find out some things that are in that color, it's okay. But it became more difficult. Why? Because you were not focusing on that. It's a tricky thing I found with one of an agile coach I have met in my career, and I found it very interesting. And I will move to the next thing. When we talk about agile transformation, or when we talk about our companies, when we observe it, it's something that is actually real simple. A company, by definition, is something which is a group of individuals, which have the same, who has the same, let's say, common values and beliefs and goals, and who want to build a product or service for a specific customer. By definition, this is a definition of an organization or company. And if we look at it, we can see that they have four elements, four main elements: the customer itself, the product or the services, the things that are let's say the mechanics of building the company, which is the processes, the structures, and everything that are around, and the people that are within the company. So if we consider these elements, we can see that there are actually four of them. right? The customer, the product and the services, the mechanics behind, and the people that are around them. All right, so let's split them so that you can see all of those, the four elements. Here they are. Now let's talk about agile transformation. When you talk about agile transformation, you are very familiar with this, this metaphor of the butterfly. We are talking about transformation because it's not just a simple change. It's not agile adoption, for instance, because if it was something that is a little change, it's something maybe that can change one of these parts. But when you talk about agile transformation, it's something that is going to change all the four elements we have discussed so far, and all the layers and all the, let's say, elements that are within the company. That's why we are talking about transformation. That's why we are talking about agile transformation. And in today's world, we need to have that transformation to become more agile, to have business agility within our companies. Because what is business agility? It's the ability to perform and to thrive in this complex and uncertain world. Sorry. Why we are talking about uncertainty? You all know now, we don't need to go to spend a lot of time in this. You all know what the world of today is about. I think in this conference you got the chance to see everything related to generative AI. You have seen everything related to, the new let's say, technology that are coming every year. We have new technologies that are popping up. We have different kind of, complexity. It's the main word, let's say, in this today world. Everything is becoming complex. The VICA acronym, you all know it: volatility, uncertainty, complex, extra. And the world is becoming more than more complex, and that's why agile maybe is spreading very fast, because companies and businesses needs something to respond to that complexity, to that change. That's why business agility is important, right? And the question I am asking, to link it with the activity I did earlier with Sanjeev, is where should we focus the most to achieve that business agility? If we have these four elements, where should be the focus the most? My understanding and my observation was that before digital era, where when everything was stable, when where the market was stable, where the customer were not that demanding, where things were stable a little, let's say, uh, the focus we had in our companies was more how to call it, we were seeing things mainly internally from the inside view. What I mean by that is that we were having structures that were stable. We were having cultures that were mostly oriented on stability, right? We were bringing, yes, product and services to our customer, but companies started to lack a bit of sight of the customer. So they were bringing products, they were creating products, they were creating services, but they was lacking of the view, or the side of the customer. So this thing started to make me reflect. The consequence of that was that they were losing sight of the customer. They were looking sometime on low value features, right? Producing things that maybe no one is going to use. We have some statistics coming from Standish Group or State of Agile or many other statistics that were saying that companies can build a product in which only 20% of those were, used. That's why those the new agile frameworks we all know are born, by the way, to avoid those waste. They have sequential life cycle following the internal structures. Mainly they were focused on the internal things. That's why we had all of those handoffs between, the different department, division, extra. And even sometimes you can have competitive objectives within the company. That was a bit, complicated. But to achieve business agility, we need to shift our paradigm. We need to shift our way of seeing things. We need to shift. You remind when I told Sanji to look at the yellow color, it became a bit more difficult yet, right? But we need to shift ourselves to see in the lens of the customer first, and to try to build the company backward. And that's very interesting when I, draw this and found out this, because that's something someone who is a very successful, businessman said once in his life. We innovate by starting with the customer and working backwards. Jeff Bezos, he said it a lot. Even sometimes you can find in LinkedIn or in other videos from him, he repeat customers a lot in his mouth, because he understand what it is about. And told myself, yes, let's try to see the relationship between those four elements. Okay, we said that we have the customers, we had the products, we had the employees or the people inside, and we have mechanics and processes and tools. Let's just map it on a two by two. to observe what is the relation between them. So here are the four elements. Very good. And when I try to do the mapping, so here is the distribution. So here we have the customers, here we have the product and the services, here we have the processes, the structures, the let's say the tools, the operations, everything related to, to the mechanics of building the product. And here we have the people, the culture that are, behind, underlying, everything they do. And when you see the relationship, I see that something very interesting we can have in here. When you start looking, applying what Jeff Bezos said, meaning seeing things from the lens of the customer, you can see that there is a direct relation between all of them. So in this axis, you have the peoples and the products. In this axis, you are whether with outside the company, meaning outside the mechanic of building things or inside the mechanic of building things. And the relationship is quite interesting, because when you start with the customer, that customer is interacting directly, let's say, with your workers, your people, the one who are delivering that services, who are defining and working on everything that is related to the mechanics, meaning they shape the mechanics of building the product. That mechanics help build the product, and that product generate value, and it's a cycle. And that cycle is we can call it a virtuous cycle, because it's working like that. All of them are important, you can't skip one of them. You can, for instance, skip that part, the people part. Try to just understand what the customer are asking for, and try just to pass it through your, let's say, your mechanics, and try to build the stuff. And that made me reflect a little bit more, because when I saw this quote from Richard Branson, a successful businessman as well, when he was saying that clients do not come first, employees come first. I was saying to myself, what? Jeff Bezos just said the opposite. He said that we need to start with the customers first. But when I go deeper into that relationship, I understand it a bit more, because when he was saying that we need to start with the clients, what he meant is that we need to, how to call it, to consider the employees at the same time. Because okay, we can start with the customers first, but what can happen if we break the cycle and we go directly toward this direction, without taking into consideration the employees, or without empowering them, or without giving them the goals, objectives, or without inspiring them into achieving the goals of the company? It won't work. It won't work at all. It won't work at all. That's why he insisted on that we need to start we need to start. Let me open it here. I have one slide that is missing. I hope I will have it here. Otherwise, it's not a problem at all. So we need to start with the customers, but we need to take into account the how to call it, the employees themselves. All right. So the framework started to be a bit more interesting, right? I saw a couple of links between the elements. So let's try to deep dive a little on the four blocks we already identified before. I, ask you to do one quick activity to see how everything related to agile can be read with this simple chart. So the four box we have identified so far, we already discussed it. We have the client customer side, which we can call the people outside, right? In this area, because it's a 2 by 2. Here we can see what we can call the product outside, meaning everything related to product and the services, the mechanics of building it, and the people that are inside it. So let's take the first one. To innovate backward, as said Jeff Bezos. Before digital era, before agile was spreading like that, as I told you in the beginning, make markets were stable. The cycles were very really long. Companies and organizations could have spent, let's say, more than 1 year, 2 year, 3 years without having any need of innovation, without having any need of any fear of being disrupted by another company or a new startup, because they were stable. And we have seen it with, for instance, Airbnb and the hotels. They were there for centuries and decades. But very recently, they were the value chain in which they were a bit was a bit, let's say, threatened by newcomers like Airbnb. The same happened with Tesla and the automotive, industry. Extra. So this that stability they had, they don't have it anymore. So what they need to do with meaning in agile transformation is they need to understand that the customer are becoming more than more demanding, and the market is becoming more and more unstable, complex and uncertain. So they need to understand their customers as much as possible by using the tools, by using data, by gathering, every way they have to do so, they need to do it. But they need to take into account everything related to their customer. They need to know their customer the best, so that they can be differentiating their offers as much as possible, so that they can be relevant and stay relevant, yes, in their market. So this is the first thing. The next thing is regarding the product side. We were building product from the previous decades, let's say the 50s and a little above, with tools we knew as, project management, which initially was built for industries, engineering, extra, but we applied it in different other products we were building, until it, happened in software industry. But after we saw the limits of that, but that project mindset of doing things were, leading us to have our focus mainly in the internal work of the internal things of the company, how the company was working actually. That's why everything in product management was related to this, let's say, triangle we all know: the scope, time, and budget. And everything in the company was built around this. We were mainly managing, let's say, times, delays. We were mainly managing people. We were mainly managing tasks, let's say. And a lack of focus of what is value, what is the customer, what do we need to bring to the customer, what how we can bring value to the customer extra. And that's why agile frameworks were very innovative, because when they came, they tried to put the product mindset mainly in front, so that we are not only focusing on the internal system of our companies, but we are at the same time focusing at the external part, because everything we are doing it for them, so that we can be more competitive, so that we can be more, responding to the change that are coming from them. So this is very interesting. So in agile transformation, we need to have in mind that we need to shift a little from the project mindset toward the product mindset, so that we can take into advantage everything that are coming outside. As we say it here, it's drive outside in, the outside in, approach. When we look at the mechanics inside now the company, this is becoming a little more interesting, because the mechanics inside the companies, everything in it was built from the only way we had to organize the companies. When I show this, it may be a little, caricatural, but it's actually how our organizations are working mainly. Mainly, they are working like that. We have different divisions, we have different department extra, and we are doing handoffs from one division to another, and we have a very long circuit of decision making that can lead to less agility, and that can make being responsive to change a bit more difficult. One example I can share in here is, once in my career, we were doing, agile transformation. We were working on the business process part, because we were selling a product. It was with a telecom company. We were selling something like the fiber optic offer. It was a product in which the client would have, high rate of internet connection. But we were suffering a lot with that, with our client, because when the client were complaining a lot, and even they were tagging the CEO of the company on the social networks, because now they have the tools, to complain, and everyone will be aware of. But internally, all our KPIs were working well. Everything was green. Everything was working very fine. So the CEO was asking himself, why our KPI, our dashboard, everything is in green, and the client are always tagging me in the social website. There is an issue. So he created a group of, people to try to work on, and I was one of those. By the way, I was the lead of that project. And we started to do our research. I did our Gemba works. We tried to see how the process is built actually, not in theoretical, but actually it's built from the beginning to the end, until we find out some things that surprised me. One of the things that I was surprised of is that we find out that the different divisions which were mainly involved in this product delivery was having kind of objectives that were competing, and that were not actually, let's say, client oriented. That's why they were having very good, KPIs that are green. They were saying in their dashboard to the CEO, and everything is fine according to them, if you see it on their division only. But in the lens of the customer, he was suffering. For instance, we were promising him to have his order 10 days after the order date. but he was sometimes can have it 3 months later. Sometimes he can even not have any information because they were overwhelmed with the information. For instance, the technical division, they were saying like, our objective is to ensure that everything is built on the right time. So they were focusing only on that. And whenever they were having some difficulties, they will try to find out ways of keeping the KPIs and the dashboard still in green, even if the client want to be, the deadline for the client want to be respected. So that was a bit, a problem for us. Something that surprised me as well a lot, the sales division, for instance. They were whenever the client come to the store, they try to sell him the price, even though they are not sure that technically the product will be fit in his zone, in his area. Because those who know about fiber optic, there are some things we need to check up first technically to ensure that it can come to that zone. But because they had that objective of maximizing the amount of products they sell, meaning the amount of client they have recorded to the fiber optic, they wanted directly to connect them, even though we had some technical things. What you can understand in there is that they had good objectives that are business objectives, but that were competing a little, or that were not client focused. And that's why we were finding sometimes clients who were complaining because they gave them their money, they wait more than 10 days, they have no feedback, and even the product has not come yet. Just to give a quick example of how our business, our sometimes our processes were built, because we were mainly focused on the internal things. And even if we are focused on the internal things, sometimes we were having competing things, competing division. Why? Because we were not organizing backward. We were not, let's say, seeing things from his lens of the customer. So this is something we need to take into account when doing a business agile transformation, because those barriers we are describing in the silos, as you have seen it here, the silos I shared here, they are actual barriers, invisible yet, but they are actual barriers. And that handover from one to another can be very deadly, let's say, to how we are delivering value to our customer. And to avoid, we need to avoid those competing objectives, and to make things very easy, more easier. That's why we can all fall in love, let's say, with some agile frameworks. For instance, they are very pragmatical on how they decided to have cross-functional teams, pick everyone from each division. Okay, we are not I don't want to say interested, but we are not focused on the hierarchies, the structures extra, but just to give us the people that are needed to build this, they will focus on the same objective and deliver it to the customer. Something like Scrum, for instance. And they even appointed, for some frameworks like Scrum, they appointed someone they called the product owner. And mention this, they didn't call him the project owner, because the focus is not internal. They call it the product owner because the focus is on the product, it's on the customer. So very interesting information in here. So we have the four other, um, how to call it, the last one, which is the people side. The people side, we were facing some difficulties with these kind of structures we were having. And it was pushing us to have people that were sometimes having difficulties to take decisions, to have autonomy, to be on that culture of, let's say, innovation. Because as you may know, culture by the way, the same Peter Drucker said this: culture eats strategy for breakfast. If you want to have a culture for innovation, you need to empower people, to let them innovate, to let them try things, to let them fail, experiment, and learn from that, so that the next day they will try something new. But if we are in cultures which are built for stability, because after the 50s extra, companies will be like that, so they will have the same behaviors. They will work for stability, no risk taking, extra. So you need as well to bear that in mind, meaning when you're doing agile transformation, that cultural part, that employee part, you need to work on that. And something that I really like from Peter Drucker, this guru of management, he said it very well, that we in our newer industries, in the industry of complexity, in which we are all knowledge workers, he said something very interesting. Knowledge workers have to manage themselves. They have to have autonomy so that they can be innovative. And that's very good and very interesting things we can catch up here. So now I have talked around 10 or 20 minutes, let's say. Now what I would like you to do with me quickly, if you are still following me on the board, I will release you, and we are going to explore how Agile Manifesto and the Agile frameworks, just Scrum for instance, in here, we won't have time for all of them, fit in the model we are sharing, meaning with the four squares extra, so we can see whether it is interesting or not. So I'm going to unhide this activity, and this activity. Meanwhile, I will try to I will try to grab a bottle of water so that you can do it. You have here the Agile Manifesto in green, what we are valuing over what we are not valuing in pink, in yellow. So what I would like you to do is just grab something and try to put it somewhere in which you think it's related to, and we are going to see how it fits in the model. We can do it for this, we can do it for the principles as well. So here are the agile values and here are the principles. So I will let you, let's say, 1 minute or two to do that. Meanwhile, I will take
So
my
let's
water.
keep 2 minutes. Yeah, let's keep 2 minutes, Solomon.
Exactly.
Sure. Guys, you can fill, yeah, you can fill according to your knowledge and according to your thoughts. And
Exactly.
we'll start, yeah, again at after 2 minutes.
All right. Don't be shy, guys. You can start dragging and dropping the stickies. I think you have the rights to do so. Yeah, I released you. Just put it as you think or as you want. No problem at all. After we can have discussions. All right. I will let
So,
you 30
yeah, we
seconds.
still have 1 minute left. One
Yeah,
minute.
yeah. Okay, go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're audible, loud and clear.
Okay. All right. I think we almost done.
Just give them 30 seconds more.
Okay. No worries. I think we do have time till still. Yeah, we have around,
Yes,
let's
we
say,
have time.
yeah, we have time. Yeah. People are a bit, let's say, shy with my mural board. You can shuffle everything up as you want. I will fix it later. All right, I think time is up, right? So thank you
Yes,
for
yes.
trying to do the exercise. It was just to try to see what would be the results. But I tried to do the same exercise with couple of, let's say, the friends and agile coaches I work with to have their feedbacks. Let me summon you again and take control again. Sorry for that, so we can navigate together. And when we try to do this association, it showed us something that is really interesting. For instance, for let's say for the Agile Manifesto. If you take the Agile Manifesto, right now I'm trying to draw. If you see, for instance, the things that are in yellow, these are the things that are not that were not valued by the Agile Manifesto. You remember, for instance, they say something like individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So the yellow things stickies we have in here are the things that are less valued. And when we try to see the things that are in green, I'm going to change the color so you can see my drawing. Yes, when I highlight the things that are in green, what can you show in here? You can see that these are the things that the Agile Manifesto were trying to you know mentioned was trying to foster. And it's very interesting to read it like this, because it's like they were sending a message to the companies or to the organization to let them know, hey guys, you are doing things that are more internally focused, you are doing things that are good, that are okay, that we need still to do, it's okay, but the most important things we need to do are not, focused on this area, and we need to look otherwhere, elsewhere. For instance, the customer, for instance, the working product, for instance, the people that are doing that job. And it, highlights something that I found interesting. And yeah, that's what, led me, to want to share these ideas. And we can do the same when we go into the, let's say, the principles. If you go into the principles, you can see that everything they were sharing, mainly it's like to let them know that if you want to succeed this transformation, if you want to succeed to this, all those things you were doing, meaning internally, you need to see it on a different way. For instance, look at the people side. They were talking about effective communication, teamwork, self-organization, team, sustainable pace, empowering people. Like that, they were sending a message to the whole world to let them know, hey guys, these are okay, okay, but we need to see it differently. These are principles to help us, achieve what we are valuing in our values. And this is something that is quite interesting, and it made me a bit more interested in this mapping. And I started, to continue dipping on it. And when I try to do the same for Scrum, for instance, you can see a similar thing. Let me try to do the thing. These are the elements of Scrum you can find in the Scrum guide or something else. I'm not saying this because I am a Scrum lover or I am a PST of Scrum.org, not at all. But when I tried with the framework, I found that it's really interesting, and it's really addressing business agility, mainly it in its final version, because in its final version, that's where we started to talk about product goals, sprint goals, and all those stuff that are, product related, and valuing things on the lens of the customer. Because previously we were having product, we were having vision, something like that, but they tried to insist a bit more on that, and they removed everything that were, confusing a little. And I find it very interesting, and I'm one of the people that believe that Scrum, even if it's a lightweight framework, is something that can help us achieve business agility. All right, so this is good, this is very nice, and we saw, the mapping quite well until now. But something that I would like to share, which is still related to Agile transformation, is what we can call the principles. So continuing to reflect on this, I identified some key principles that in all the Agile transformation I were in, and even in the statistics I have read in the Standish group, or from Taste of Agile, the latest version. Even I have a couple of, insights, by the way, in this mural. I found those really important to have to succeed. So those principles can be, let's say, underlying things, so that we can succeed our Agile transformation. Let's try to go through them. The first one I identified was what we can call start with why, meaning the why part. People sometimes are going into Agile just because it's a buzzword, or it's a cool thing, or we could be cool when we start doing Agile extra, by forgetting everything that is related to impact, to the business, to customer extra. I like Comic Agile because they are very funny on how they capture actual things in our business and our industry, and they highlight it in a very, funny way. So all these people, all these areas are organizations that are, going into Agile just because to full skill the people, for instance, to be more efficient. But small part of them are focused in increasing their value add through empowering teams, and that adapts. So you need to know why you are doing your Agile transformation. And coming back still to our visualization, that why is very is powerful, because the four elements we identified so far are just the elements of the company, for every company who want to Agile transform or not. But if you want to have Agile transformation, that why is a driver, because that why will let you know what do you want to achieve on the product side, what do you want to achieve on the people side, what do you want to achieve on the process side. When you do, you achieve with your companies, maybe you are going to target all of them, maybe you are going to target one of them, maybe you are, going to have a mix of them. But this why is very important, and determinant to know which way you are going to move forward. So very important. So yes, you need to study well. And I have in my career two people I, found, I heard something, someone sometime, which are on the very high level CEOs or deputy CEOs, and they were sharing their thoughts on what they think about Agile transformation within their companies. For instance, this one, he was a CEO of a multinational bank. He was saying like, we have our product, we have the competitors. Whenever we have a new product, they have the same product, and sometimes they can copy even better than us. So the success factors want to be on just creating product, on creating new things. The success factor will be on having the relationship between us and between the client, so that we can make the difference. And when I heard this, it was in a agile conference, something like this. He is a CEO from a big bank. I captured it directly on my tablet and my notes, because I think that it's interesting, because he knows why he want to transform. Even though I have been in that company, the transformation, I don't want to say that it was not went not quite well, because we have bunch of frameworks, bunch of tools, bunch of, let's say, buzzword that were shaking a little the company, because they invested a lot on it. They invested a lot on it, and we are going to talk about it, how we need to approach things. I believe we need to do it on a step by step phase. We don't need to have changes that are big bang changes, because you will disturb all these four elements at one at all, at the same time. And even people, only the people side is something that is complicated. So if you want to change everything at the same time, the change will be difficult and sometimes unbearable. But he understood his why. That's what I wanted to share here. And the other one was saying something like, we are like a whale, and as a whale, we are wide and heavy. And that whale needs to transform in a school of small fish. And I like this metaphor very well as well, because this company was a multinational telecom company, which headquarter is in France, but it's actually a whale. The example I was sharing regarding the fiber optic I was talking about earlier, it was with the same telecom company. It's like a whale, and the client can order something. Sometimes wait more than the delay he had the promise of being delivered. So this is very important. So we need to have as a first principle to start with why. To start with our why, it helps define the clear vision and it serve as a compass for the people, the teams, and build alignment, motive the people in achieving the goals. After that, another principle, and you have seen it, and you have even seen it when Jeff Bezos was saying, innovate backward or organize backward. We need to organize backward around value. Now we are focusing on our customer. We are focusing our product. We are focusing a bit more on the outside part. We need now to build internally our companies like this. For instance, having cross-functional teams, that are a mix of people that have all the skills that I needed to build the product, and that have the same objective to build a successful product for this specific customer. So we need to organize like that, and that's why the agile framework, like Scrum, like other frameworks, Safe, etc., they are not pushing, but they are recommending to go toward that direction from little by little. The other principles then: identify the value and organize backward. And let's remember the Conway's law. The Conway's law, which is saying that the company sometime way it's structured, it will be reflected on the product they are serving. So if internally we have our silos, if internally we have our divisions, and they have competitive, let's say, objectives, and they are like competing with each other, we will see it on the product. And I remember in one of a company in which I work, I put this image because it's one we can call a Frankenstein product, a product in which you can Frankenstein. It's a kind of monster. It's a product in which you can have one hand in here, one ear in here, meaning things are mixed up. Why? Because each division want to see how it's working in the product which is delivered to the client. So they are not seeing things from the lens of the client; they are seeing things from the lens of their internal organization. So we need to avoid it. The next one, which is interesting, I have just two two principle left, the number 3 and the number 4. Minimize the gap. Minimize the gap. You have seen the gap from the customer to the employees to the processes until to the products. This is actually something that needs to be minimized. But when we say minimize, it's minimizing it in two ways. In terms of distance, what I mean by distance is that if we learn something from the customer, if the distance from that learning until we deliver it is very long, we are not going to gain agility in our business. So we need to consider how we can minimize that as much as possible. And we can work on different layers in the structures. We can work on different layers, but we need to consider and bear in mind that we need to minimize that gap as much as possible, and we need to minimize it as well in the frequency of delivery. Because if we were in our the stable markets in which we were capable of spending years before delivering one product. Now we are not allowed to. We are not allowed to. We need to be more frequently delivering things, even if it's a piece chunk of pizza to the customers, instead of just waiting, years to deliver those. Otherwise, you are going to be very quickly obsolete. And the last one I wanted to share as how to call it, a principle with what I call the empiricism. The empiricism is something that is really interesting, and I think that empiricism, we need to have it on how we are building the product. What I mean by how we are building the product, we need to build the product, learn from it, inspect, adapt, build again. This is on the product side, but the same applies to our frameworks as well. That's what I was saying just 2 minutes before. I don't think that, I don't believe that, and I saw it failing different in different ways. A big bang way of changing. Yes, someone decided we need to transform agile transform, and everyone is on it, and we transform all the four elements at the same time. I don't believe in that at all. And it's, causing more damages than being successful. So we need to bear that in mind. Let's keep it simple. That's why I like you will say that I'm a PhD. That's why I'm talking like that. But it's not like that. I like the way we can achieve business agility with Scrum, for instance, by identifying one product, for instance, by doing the experimentation of that, by starting to change the things internally, change the behaviors, change the cultures, change the way we are improve our products with our retrospective extra, until our scrum is, working fine, until we are delivering value, until we are meeting our definition of done, until we are delivering increment every sprint, until we are stable. After, we can start about thinking about scaling. But what if you are doing scrum, let's say from 6 months to 1 year, even delivering done increment is a problem on your organization, and you start scaling, start adding new models, new frameworks like safe. I'm not bunching any model in here, but I'm just saying that you don't need to scale your framework. You need to scale the value you want to deliver your product to your customer, but not the frameworks. That's not the goal actually. And when you will do that, you will see the result will be something like zombie people. You will see zombie people which are here having baby foods, having post-it on the wall, etc., thinking we agile, but at the end they are zombie people. And that approach of empiricism is very interesting. It's something I learned from Toyota because I'm working with them currently with the improvement kata. So just identify the first step, which can be a small product you test with, and empirically improve it until you are done. I have one last. I was saying that, meaning the leaders show the way. Yes, because I believe that the leadership is important as well. In different, even we can see it in the statistic from Standish Group Extra. The leadership needs to show the way of the transformation, because all we have said in here is important. But if we don't have someone who believes in it, who show the ways, who lead the people toward that direction, it want to be feasible. And they are shaping the culture actually, because people will see them do, and they will do like they are doing. People, they will, motivate people, or they will, let's say, punish people if they are doing something wrong, and the way they are doing it, people will follow that same way. So they are shaping the culture. So we need to bear that in mind. So that was all, mainly. So if you look at it one last time, you can see, the different squares. I put in the fifth one, which is the purpose, which will, as I mentioned earlier, will shape the direction of your transformation. I call, by the way, the purpose of the transformation. So it gives me the 5 P's I was mentioning in the beginning. I suffered a lot into finding the right definition, because I was saying myself, can I call it 5 forces? No. Can I call it the 5 drivers? No. Let's say 2P CCs. I struggled a lot. But at the end, I wanted to keep things simplified. I called it just 5 P's. Purpose, the product inside, the product outside, the people inside, the people outside. It gives us the 5 P's of agile transformation. So the final takeaway, it's something that is vital in our today business, agile transformation. We already know it now. We don't have the option, even I can say, to do it or not. This model can help you understand it in an easier way, to measure your current state. We don't have the chance to discuss about how we can measure it with it, to identify some initiative and define your desired state. And there are underlying and guiding principle to succeed your transformation that we need to bear in mind. So that was all from my side. All models are wrong. Some are useful. I hope this one will be useful for you. If it's not, you just can put it on the bin and try something else.
No, really, this was really a very insightful, honestly, and still, I can sense it from the the kind of chatting that was going on between the audience. But yes, definitely, it's going to help. For the upcoming Scrum Masters or Agile coaches, how to define your roadmap. So definitely, we have to start at least from somewhere, and
Yeah,
definitely, people will take lot of takeaways from this session. They can plan it accordingly, and then they can try to define it according to like what you just explained in last 45 minutes. So that was really amazing, Solomon. That was.
thank you.
And guys, we will be starting the roundtable room within next let me just see any questions. Maybe they didn't ask here, but I think you will have questions in roundtable room. So we'll take your questions over there. Stay tuned. We will be continue for the next session very soon. In the meantime, whosoever wants to interact with Solomon 101, face to face, they are welcome in roundtable. And as I said, that this is going to be on first come first basis. So grab your seat, and then Solomon, let's jump into the roundtable room. Thank you
Okay,
so much
let's do
for this
that.
session. Yeah, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
Bye, everyone.